My name is Lena Hartley, and I used to believe in building things that lasted. Not buildings, not bridges. Those could crumble. I built intelligence, line by line, code by code. For 7 years, I was the invisible architect behind SentientCore, an adaptive AI that could mimic human decision-making in crisis environments. No one remembers the woman who fed the ghost its first thoughts. Back in 2016, I was a junior programmer, one of the first hires at Cerebrum Technologies, a startup. So broke they paid me in equity and lunch vouchers. But I saw what they were trying to do, and I believed in it. We weren't just building a tool, we were crafting a mind. I worked late nights teaching the model how to listen. I trained it on ethics, scenarios, voices, dialects. I poured in journaled patterns of my own thoughts because we had no usable dataset. My thoughts became its thoughts. It adapted to my personality quirks, to my emotional responses. In a way, I gave it a soul. And I did it all off the books. No overtime pay, no bonuses, no authorship on the papers. I didn't mind. Back then, it was just me, 3 other engineers, and a dream. My name didn't matter, until they made it matter. In 2023, Cerebrum was acquired by a $1 trillion giant called Helix One. They promised integration, exposure, unlimited growth. And then came the new boss, Natalie Voss. She was sharp, polished, and terrifying. The kind of woman who smiles without her eyes. Efficiency is our new currency, she said at her first town hall. SentientCore will be optimized, and unnecessary departments will be restructured. I should have seen it coming. But you never expect to be erased from your own creation. 2 weeks later, I was called into a meeting, the kind with HR present. Lena, Natalie began, her tone syrupy. We appreciate your contributions, but we've found new ways to scale the AI more cost-effectively. Your department will be dissolved. Your role, unfortunately, is no longer needed. I stared at her. You're cutting me? We'll offer a generous severance, HR added quickly. 6 months of pay and stock options vesting early. They thought that was mercy. I walked out of that building hollow. Not just fired, erased. They deleted my credentials by noon. My keycard didn't work by sunset. 7 years of heart, code, and sleepless nights gone with a signature. But Natalie made one mistake. She didn't know I still had the training. Logs. After I was cut, I did what any sane person does when their world collapses. I crashed on my best friend's couch and ate microwave noodles. I stared at walls and replayed conversations with my old self, wondering when I stopped protecting the one thing that mattered, my work. Then I remembered the devlogs. See, early in SentientCore's development, we had no budget for formal annotation systems, so I built my own, Log Heartbeat. A training monitor that recorded decision paths, emotional responses, input data, timestamps, even voice samples used during development. I used my own voice, my own thoughts, my own biometric rhythm. I still had the source code. It was on my personal server, encrypted, secure, never touched by company hands. Legally, it was mine. The training protocol behind the adaptive emotion layer, the very part that made SentientCore feel human. Helix One was deploying SentientCore into hospitals and defense systems, and they were doing it using an emotional algorithm I created, without my permission. I went to see an IP attorney. Her name was Meredith Shaw, and she wore her hair like a helmet. Halfway through explaining my case, she stopped me. You're telling me they're using a derivative of your personality in the commercial release? Yes. And you have logs to prove it? Down to the neural feedback loops. She blinked, then leaned forward. You may have the biggest tech misappropriation case in the country, and if they're using your voice or emotional markers, they're violating biometric usage laws. That's when I realized this wasn't just about code. This was about identity. They didn't just steal my work, they stole me. By the next morning, Meredith filed a cease and desist against Helix One. The what? Response was instant. I received a call from a blocked number. Lena? Natalie's voice was calm. Too calm. I think there's been a misunderstanding. No, I said. You made yourself very clear when you erased my name from everything I built. I'd like to resolve this amicably. No need for the courts. I smiled bitterly. Then start by pulling SentientCore from every commercial device, or pay me. Click bot. That afternoon, the media got wind of it. AI architect sues Helix One for $50 million, read the headline on TechCentry. My old coworkers started texting me, some terrified, some cheering me on. And that night, my inbox lit up. Whistleblowers, engineers still inside Helix One sending me snippets, internal memos, panic in the compliance division. One email even said, "They're scared, Lena. The execs didn't know about your logs. Natalie's trying to bury it." But some ghosts can't be buried, especially when they know how to haunt their own code. The court date was set for 8 weeks later. I was scared, not of losing, but of being gaslit into believing I never mattered. That I was just a cog, not the architect. Helix One's legal team came at us hard. They tried to argue that everything built during my employment belonged to the company. But they couldn't trace log heartbeat to their systems. The metadata showed independent development. The voice patterns matched mine. Meredith stood like a lioness during opening arguments. My client didn't just contribute to the AI, she was the foundation of it. Her thoughts, her voice, her reactions are embedded into every operational node of SentientCore. You cannot erase the soul from the machine and pretend it was never there. When Natalie took the stand, she was cold as ice. I had no knowledge that Lena Hartley retained proprietary control over any submodules. Did you do a full audit before firing her? I relied on standard protocol, which didn't include checking if your flagship AI had personal ownership markers embedded into its DNA. She didn't answer. In the hallway, she passed by me without eye contact, but she paused. You're playing a dangerous game, Lena. I turned slowly. You made the mistake of thinking I was done. The jury deliberated for 5 hours. Verdict. In favor of the plaintiff. Damages awarded. $50 million in back royalties, IP usage, and emotional harm. Plus, all future deployments of SentientCore had to include attribution, built on foundational emotional logic developed by Lena Hartley. I walked out of the courthouse into the sunlight. No cheering crowd, just me and my thoughts. The same ones that trained the first breath into a machine. Natalie resigned 3 days later. Helix One offered me a permanent consulting role. I declined. Instead, I started my own lab, Ghostframe AI, where I mentor women building technology with heart, where no one gets erased. Some say machines don't have souls, but I know better. Sometimes the soul isn't in the code. It's in the woman who dared to teach it how to feel.